Welcome, adventurers, to another episode 23 of the Thumbstick Adventurers. I'm Kagros.
My Straight King.
And I'm Juicy Samples.
Well, once again, we have a wonderful episode for you guys tonight. But before we get into that, just going to quickly plug our channels. If you're watching us live on Twitch, thank you so much. And if you want to watch our past episodes, we have them on our YouTube channel. Both our channels are called the Thumbstick Adventurers. But anyways, before we get into the main content, today we're talking about Gnosia, which is a game for the Nintendo Switch. It's basically single player Among Us, as Juicy originally described it to us when we first found out about the game.
Hey, I have to pause you there. Is it Gnosia? Is it Gnosia? I've been calling it Gnosia in my head.
I think that's fine. I honestly don't know. I don't know.
I've been calling it
go
Gnosia.
But before we get into that, let's quickly do a quick fast 5 minute, maybe not even 5 minutes, roundup of this week's news, and let's all go over one thing that we are probably excited about or something that piqued our interest. And for me, so we'll start with me. My first one is the announcement of the Great Ace Attorney. Was that what it was called?
I think so.
The new Phoenix Wright game. The new Phoenix. I mean, not new. It's new, but it's like a re-release of the two Japanese Phoenix Wright games. I'm very excited for this. I'm glad they bundled two games in one, so I can play both of them in one swoop. And I'm sure it will help me scratch that Phoenix Wright itch because we still have not gotten any news about Phoenix Wright 7, which is very sad.
Yeah, indeed. It's very exciting to see the Forbidden games finally coming to the West.
Yes.
The creators were literally like, "These will never come to the West because we don't want to. We don't want to bring them to the West."
I feel like there's a narrative story driven renaissance right now where you get Phoenix Wright, you have a game like Gnosia, and you have the Famicom Detective Club game.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. You have what's his face? Life is Strange coming out later this year.
Definitely.
So,
I'm so excited for that. I'm ready.
I'm really happy with the state of how games are being developed nowadays.
All right, IDK. I think there's one news that we all know that you're very excited about that happened this week. Why not you show your enthusiasm?
Oh, I am super excited about the trailer that just dropped for Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. It was inevitability. It was coming, and I had a feeling that once Returnal, the big game they were sort of promoting, was finally on the doorstep to being launched, they would finally start talking more about their next big game, which is Rift Apart. And the trailer was amazing. As a big fan, there's a lot of lore things going on in the trailer that are kind of like, huh? What? What do you mean? So very exciting. And very happy that tomorrow they're going to have a big, PlayStation event all about it, plus 2 indie games. Plus, I think sometime later they're going to have 30 minutes of gameplay from the game. So pretty excited. I mean, maybe there's a few things I'm a little nervous about, like they're taking away armor. It used to be you could always buy an armor set in Ratchet and Clank. I mean, it wasn't exciting, but it was like, oh, I finally have enough money to purchase this armor that will reduce damage to me by 70%. So these things won't one-shot me. They're getting rid of that.
Did you watch the trailer?
I did watch the trailer.
I'm psyched. It's gonna be good.
Yeah, it looks really good. And I'll end it with this. Basically, back when Tools of Destruction came out in 2007, on the back of the box, a critic stated that Insomniac was like the Pixar video games because their animations look so good. The gameplay looks like a Pixar movie.
Mm-hmm.
I really do think Insomniac took that to heart because if you watch that trailer, it looks like a Pixar movie. And that if gameplay holds up and it looks like that when you're playing, yeah, it's gonna be like you're playing a Pixar movie. Very exciting.
Well, just to give our listeners just an idea of how hyped IDK is for this game. IDK, when was the last time you were this hyped for a game?
Ooh, that's a little hard.
Which anime game was it? Let's be honest, which anime game was it?
I mean, yeah, maybe Trails of Cold Steel 3 or 4. I was pretty excited for one of those. Even though I didn't play 4, I watched someone else play it. But
Not Persona 5 Royal.
well, I mean, he said the last time
that you were as excited. You were
as excited. Probably, yeah. I guess Persona 5 original.
Oh,
I was pretty excited for that game.
Really?
I was pretty Royal was pretty cool, but I kind of knew what we were going into. I was just like, okay, what new stuff are they going to have? I'm pretty excited for it. 5 Vanilla was like my first Persona game. I bought the deluxe edition, pre-ordered it as soon as it was available. I literally dropped Final Fantasy 15 to play that game on end for 3 months in a row. I got more hours in Persona 5 Vanilla in 3 months than I had in Destiny 1 over 2 years. Let that sink in. 450 hours in Persona 5 versus 428 on Destiny 1.
Yes, I'm actually not surprised. So I think all of us, we weren't as hyped for Persona 5 Royal because we thought, oh, we're just going to kind of replay it. But I personally think that, I was excited for it, but I wasn't as hyped as, Persona 5 Original. Because, we had expectations for Persona 5 Royal, right? But we didn't know how good the improvements and the additions to the Royal Edition was. We had no idea what we were in store for, right?
Yeah.
It exceeded it.
Pretty much. It was like Persona 5 was this brand new book, and we were opening it up for the first time. And we were going to see everything with fresh eyes. Royal was like going back to that same book. It's like a special collector's edition. The author added in a few new things that, as a true fan, you're going to see and notice and be like, "Oh, that's interesting." But
we didn't expect them to basically double the length of the book.
And to make certain characters more enjoyable.
Yes, certain characters.
Yes.
Yeah, you two were the only people to really convince me to buy a PS4. Because after college, I did not play games at all because I just didn't have time for it. And then we went to E3. Y'all can't stop talking about Persona 5. It's like, what about Persona 4? You guys don't talk about Persona 4. It's like, all right, I guess I should get a PlayStation 4 just to play this game. And no regrets.
That's why I got my PlayStation 4 too. It was for Persona.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was for Persona as well. Yeah. That's why I got it as well. I was using my PS3 for a very long time, and then I actually started buying games for PS4 because I knew I was going to buy. I was just waiting for Persona 5, and when Persona 5 dropped, I bought my PS4 the Black Friday the year before Persona 5 was officially released in the West.
See, I bought my PS4 a year after release because there wasn't anything I wanted to play for it, and then when they had a bundle with Infamous Second Son, and 3 months of PS Plus, it was like, bammo, I'm taking it.
Infamous is a good enough reason. I actually bought the Infamous game before I owned a PS4 as well. I think Infamous was a good enough reason to buy a PS4. So.
Yeah, it was bundled, and then later on, as that old PS4 started chugging, I went and got the special edition God of War one because I really wanted to play God of War, and so I got the PS4 Pro God of War edition. So, yeah.
Speaking of buying PlayStations, I saw in the news that Sony with PlayStation 5, I guess it's been about 6 months. I think from what they're reporting, it sold more PlayStation 5s than it did PlayStation 4s at the same amount of time.
Yeah.
In the first 6 months. But where is my PS5? That's what I am asking. I've been trying to hunt for one. I am FOMOing like no other.
Well,
even though we talk about Ratchet and Clank, nobody's gonna play it till 2024. I don't understand. Where is my PS5, fellas?
Yeah, they call them juicy samples. They should call them salty samples, dude.
I'm
Very
just saying.
salty.
I'm just saying. Maybe you need to pitch a camp at your local Target. See if maybe when they get a secret shipment in, because that's how everyone seems to be getting it. They've been walking into Target.
I don't know, man. It's rough, dude. It's rough. Like I was
hard.
I was at my local game store a couple weeks ago, and this employee there was telling me how people they camp not just for PS, dude. They camp for Pokemon cards, dude.
Oh my goodness.
Everything's limited. Everything's limited. You want new Pokemon cards that they probably didn't print enough. You want new graphics card, they didn't make enough. And some asshole bought a whole bunch to use for Bitcoin mining.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. You're going to have to just simply get on the hunt. And maybe go somewhere where they'll actually send PS5s to, but no one will actually buy one in that region. So I'm hoping in my region we'll have one, because no one out here will buy them.
All right, let's get into the main topic for today. Today we are going to be reviewing Gnosia. I feel like there should be an option in the game where instead of saying "say you're human," just say Gnosia and how you pronounce it. Oh, he's not pronouncing it right. Sus. So just to get everyone's track record here. So I have played through the entire game and I have completely finished it, including the true ending. IDK has watched it, and then Juicy has played like how many loops did you play?
I played about 90 loops.
So Juicy finished about half the game, and now we're gonna spoil the rest of the game for him. He hasn't watched the other half, but we're gonna spoil it for him.
I threw in the towel. So the way that I'd like to find out about the story is for you guys to ask me questions about what I think is happening, because I really don't have any idea. If anything, maybe IDK can kind of give an overview of what's going on in the story. Like, what is Gnosia?
Yeah, that sounds a good idea. All right, since IDK,
okay.
Why don't you give us the plot summary? So let me turn on the spoilers tag now, just so people will know. So now we're gonna spoil Juicy now, and if you don't want to, listen to this, then just you can keep us on mute, and then until I turn off the spoiler tag. So go ahead, IDK, start it off. Tell us the plot summary of Gnosia.
The plot summary of Gnosia, whatever, is you have a bunch of strangers on a ship in space, and they're all stuck because there is this threat, this alien species that's trying to wipe out humanity, and they're all trying to deal with the fact that there is one of them on board the ship, and they have to find out who it is before they can go anywhere, because protocol states that if you do not find this alien race, their name escapes my mind. What were they called again?
Are you actually kidding? They're called Gnosia, Sean. They're called Gnosia, IDK.
See? It escaped my mind. The Gnosia, the freaking name of the game. You have to find them in order to win. And so you go through the first scenario of finding out who's the Gnosia, and then freezing them, and technically winning the game. Only to warp back in time to the beginning of that with new circumstances, with someone else now being the Gnosia. And you spend the entirety of the game looping through time. And you've slowly pieced together why you're looping through time. Why you can't seem to advance beyond this initial setting of, we're on a ship going through space, we have to find out who's the Gnosia, put them to sleep, so we can win and move on with our lives. And this keeps happening over and over, multiple loops. Eventually you get to about, the person I was watching got to about 150 loops before they finally finished the story and found out about the main character and another character named Setsu. You're kind of working together as a team trying to get out of this loop cycle. And you both have something called the Silver Key. And the Silver Key is this sort of mythical item that lets you loop through time. But as punishment for having that ability, you have to find out all the details of everyone on the ship. And the only way to get those details is by going through certain loops that you can control and manipulate via a control panel before the loop starts. Once you find all the details of all the crew members on the ship and learn all their backstories, then the key is satisfied. Then the end game begins. Then you can escape the loop. And then things start getting a little funky. They get a little wonky. You have all the information, you escape the loop, and go to loop 0. Technically the first loop before the whole game began. And what ends up happening is, and this is a huge spoiler, so I didn't want, if you've been here this whole time and you're wondering, should I stay? No, please leave. It's going to be a huge spoiler. You wake up in loop 0, you meet up with Setsu, everything's happy hunky-dory, and everyone's giving you weird looks like, hey, wait a minute, why are you up walking around, main character? You were injured pretty badly when we escaped the planet, or the galaxy with the Gnosia. You go to the med bay, you're in one of the tanks. And when you emerge from the tank, the two simultaneous existences of the same person causes the whole universe to collapse.
Oh.
And so you wind up back in another time loop, but everything's sort of been destroyed. And you and Setsu have to sort of piece together what's going on and how to fix it. And what ends up happening is you decide to... how does it go? You decided you have to find a way to get rid of the other you, so you can still exist in that perfect world where the Genosha have been beaten in loop 0. And what ends up happening is you end up going back in time to before Setsu has the silver key. And you try to prevent her from getting trapped in the loop with you. But it ends up being that you have to. You have to give her another silver key. So she has to do the same thing you just did, which is find all the data. And as a result of you finding all the data in the key and being able to go back to the loop 0, you also have the ability to open a dimension warp to another universe. And so by using the power in your key to open a warp hole, Setsu is able to take the other you and go into that other dimension, thereby saving the dimension loop 0 you're in from wiping itself out of existence every time you wake up from the med chamber.
And is that what's happening in each loop? Like, why does it always reset each loop?
So in each loop, doesn't matter what the loop is. The first person to get killed by the Gnosia is always you. The person in the med bay is always the first one to get killed by the Gnosia. That's how they know there's a Gnosia on board. Yeah,
you get severely injured.
Yeah.
You're put in the med tubes to be healed.
And then you're killed later by a Gnosia who has snuck onto the ship. I'm trying to remember the details on how... I believe if you're not there anymore, then the Gnosia doesn't come. Because the Gnosia is looking for you, I believe. I can't remember the exact details at this point. It's been a while since I finished the game. But there's a reason. Basically, if you are not there, then the Gnosia don't come. If the other version of you is not there, then Gnosia won't come.
Oh, wait, but still, the question is, why do you continue looping all the time?
Because of the silver key. Because of this item that's attached to you that wants to know knowledge about all the other crewmates. So you gain the power to rewind time, but as a result, you can never leave the time loop until you find out all the info for them. And so that's how... Yep.
Yeah. So as I'm playing this game, there's a thing that gets brought up where they question if the Gnosia is actually a bad thing. And I'm not really sure, like, what is the answer to that?
The Gnosia are actually a red herring.
Yeah, I was going to say the Gnosia are just sort of like, they're just enemies for enemies' sake. They're not actually enemies. And this will make a bit more sense when I explain what happens next. So, Setsu takes the alternate you into this warp hole you made in your Loop 0 universe, which sends them somewhere else. We don't know where. They just disappear. And then you're able to escape on the ship and go about your happy life with no Gnosia. Credits play. You get to see what happens to all the other characters. Some of them are funny, some of them are sad, telling you about their fate, and then then the game just sort of ends, and you go back to title screen. Now, here's where things get interesting. You go in, and you can select to start a new game. And you can log into the new game, and you warp in, and it'll do the startup like you're starting a new game, fresh. And when you wake up, and Setsu's the one waking you up, you have a third option. You can pick to reference something from the old loop system. And Setsu will react to it and say something funny, like, "Oh, I didn't mean to do it like that." And then she goes, "Wait a minute. How do you know that?" And then her silver ring will click on because she just got the final information she needed to activate her silver ring. So then you basically get to play through the whole first loop again, except this time you don't have to solve it. Setsu does. And Setsu solves. She knows who the Gnosia is. You know who the Gnosia is. And so she calls him out directly. And it's SQ.
Mm-hmm.
It's not actually SQ. It's her mom, Madame. And she basically calls around and says, "Look, we have silver keys. We've been through this like hundreds of times. We know you're the Gnosia. So let's make a deal." And basically, you find out in one of the stories from Jonas that when he found Krishna,
Krushka.
Krushka, he states that he found two of them.
Yep.
One was just an empty doll. The other one had a personality and emotions. And he thought it was a miracle. Well, basically, Setsu calls out Madame, who's in SQ's body, and says, "Look, I want the real SQ back. You have to get out of that body. Now. And you're Gnosia, so we need to get rid of you anyways." So what they do is they pull out the empty android body for Krishna from storage, and they put Madame from SQ's body into that empty android. And then they force her to leave through the new wormhole that Setsu is able to make with her silver ring being completed.
Mm-hmm.
And Madame the whole time is going, "Well, where am I going to go? Like, what's going to happen to me?" And it's like, "Well, you're going into that alternate universe. We don't know where you're going, but you get the silver ring, because the silver ring is going to attach to you. And
you can cause as much chaos as you
it's going to want to know people.
Yeah.
So you'll have infinite time. You can be immortal. You can rewind time as much as you want.
Oh yeah, that was her
whatever you
original
want.
goal. Right, that was her original goal. She wanted.
That
to
was
be
her
immortal.
original goal, because she wanted to live forever. That's why she kept making new bodies for SQ. And so then she leaves. And I believe she takes... She take anyone with her? No, I think it's just herself.
No,
she just leaves.
Yeah,
She just goes through the warp hole and disappears. So the Gnosia threat in this new universe is gone. And this sets up Jonas' story of getting the two androids. The empty one and the one with personality.
So the entire time Krushka is Madame?
No. It's I believe. So I think it's easier to say that whenever SQ is Gnosia, it's not actually SQ. It's her mom possessing her body.
Yeah.
And do you remember the ending where even though Krushka and what's his name, Remnin are both guards, and then Krushka attacks Remnin?
Yep.
So in that ending, the Krushka in that ending is Manin inhibiting the body. That's why she attacks Remnin. They have history too. That's why.
Yeah.
So in that case, in the end game, that's when you find out this new character named Madame.
Yeah. I mean, you don't find out about her. You find out about her before. You find out about her before, but this is the first time you actually talk to her directly, like knowing who she is.
Yeah.
Is this considered the true ending?
This is the true ending. Because the regular ending, Setsu disappears. So everyone celebrates, but Setsu isn't there because she's gone.
Yeah.
But then now you got Setsu back, and Setsu, is a pretty important character. She's your girl. So, all right.
So
Girl.
This is still part of the story, but I'd like to go through all the characters and just kind of ask questions about them, because obviously I don't have the complete story.
Yeah.
So like starting from the tier list, like you have Gina.
Mm-hmm.
She's just there.
She's
Like,
I think she's a navigator. She's a
Okay.
navigator, right?
Yeah,
Or the ship's engineer. I forgot exactly what her job was.
I don't really know what her job was on the ship. I just know that when she gets off the ship, when the loop finally ends and she's able to move on with her life, she goes back to being an air traffic controller.
Yeah, she's air traffic controller. That's what she was. Yeah,
And she lives a happy life.
yes,
That's it.
yeah.
And I guess as we're working
okay. Actually, so not everyone on the ship has a role on the ship. Like, they're actually most of them are just refugees escaping from a Gnosia attack on Looming, which is the last planet they were on. The Gnosia wiped out everybody on that planet except for the people that managed to escape onto the ship.
Uh-huh.
and I don't want to talk about personality just yet, just
sure.
because that's part of tier maker.
Yeah.
Or tier making.
Mm-hmm.
What about SQ? So like I actually don't know too much about SQ. Like she's a person, right? Like
yeah. She's a clone. She was grown in a test tube.
Yeah.
Okay.
So she's technically what, 23 years old, body wise.
Oh, right. Yeah.
But she's like not.
but
she's really
he's
young.
like one.
Yeah, basically.
Like, she's only been awake for a year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
you find that out super early in the story.
Yes.
roughly, yeah. I mean, it just feels like most people naturally discover that as they're going through the loops pretty early.
Mm-hmm.
Rakio, we know that she is not a she. She's some person.
He's a they.
She's like
pansexual.
Yeah. She's not pansexual.
No.
She's just
he's like they are pansexual. That's a description.
They're androgynous, right? Like
no. They are pansexual. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
I thought pansexual was like your attraction. That's like that describes your attraction, but it doesn't describe who they are.
Well, Rakio is a they. Like, that's what it says on the website. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So
yeah,
that's it. That's it. Is there anything else to this character?
He's intellectual, and the silver key was originally his. He just
the silver key that Setsu gets was originally his.
Yes.
Or hers, or theirs.
Yeah.
However you want to name that.
Yep.
And when the ship has an accident and Setsu gets crushed by rubble, you run back to their room,
and then take
the silver key and there's a note there. It's like, oh, I knew you'd need this. Here, do what you have to do.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Stella, she just comes off as a nice person. I forgot.
All right, so this is the spoiler note. Stella is actually the human form of the ship's computer.
Oh, right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Wait, I kind of missed. Is she actually a human, or I thought she was an android?
She's an android. Sorry.
Android. Yeah, that's what I thought. She's an android.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, and her. So for Rakio's, I'll just tell the end stories because I've seen them recently. Rakio's end story is that she and Remnant stage rebellion on her home planet, and I guess they win. Because in her ending, it states that there's a statue of him or her naked that people like to gather around as a meeting place. And then for Stella, her ending is like a little tragic. She watches over the corpse of Jonas after he dies, and then goes into a deep sleep waiting for her true person to come along.
It's you.
It sounds like Chobits. Anyways,
what about SQ? What's her ending?
SQ's ending is it's kind of funny. Like, she goes back to school, and then she becomes a private investigator. Strangely enough.
Down the list, you have Shimaguchi. She's just goofy, dumb.
He just wants a friend. He just wants friends.
That's it.
Yeah, little gray man. I think it said his ending was he just disappears. He's never seen from ever again.
The next character, I forgot his name, like Charlie or.
Oh,
which one?
I just called him Cat Guy.
Cat Guy.
Chippy.
Chippy.
Yeah, he goes through his surgery and becomes a full-fledged black cat.
Yes.
And well, actually, we'll get to it later. But yeah, he becomes a cat, and he's happy as a cat.
No story. Like, there's really no story behind.
No, it's just his story is just why he wants to be a cat.
Okay.
He just follows through with his ambition to become a cat. So he becomes a cat. Remnant, he goes with Refio to her planet and helps start the rebellion against the corrupt leaders of the society.
Mm-hmm. And then you have Comet. She has this like gel thing on her or some mold.
Slime.
She has some slime mold on her body, and she ends up selling it to a black market dealer, and then goes off on adventures with the money she got. Meanwhile, the black market dealer's planet is covered in slime. So, there you go. And this goes back to Chippy, but they say that accompanying Comet is a black cat that goes wherever she goes.
Huh.
So Chippy's with her, adventuring.
Interesting. We got Yukiko. Is that her name? Yuriko?
Yuriko.
I thought she had a really fascinating story. She's like part of this group that knows about the Gnosia or is Gnosia. I forget the association.
No, they worship the Gnosia. She leads the cult.
Uh-huh.
But she has she knows a lot. She knows a lot about what's going on as well.
Okay.
And her ending is unknown.
Yeah.
That's it. It's just unknown. We don't know what happened to her.
Jonas. I actually like Jonas a lot.
Moving on to Jonas. He was an interesting, quirky character. He has a relationship with Kukrishna and Stella, I guess, to an extent.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And
the ship.
Yeah, and the ship. And so at the end of the story, he just gets back in the ship. He's traveling forever until he dies. He's never seen again, basically. Keeps on going, having adventures in his ship.
We have Setsu, which is part of the main story. We kind of went over her.
Yeah.
Worst girl, I'm just gonna say already. Bottom tier, Otome. Just like Fish is experimented on.
Yeah, the beluga whale girl, who very strange, very odd, but has a happy ending. She goes back to her home world with Kukrishna and ends up being like a renowned scientist / advocate for animal-human hybrids or whatever.
Okay. This next guy, I forgot his name, but I actually liked him. He's very interesting. I don't know what his relationship is with Setsu.
Sha-Ming.
Sha-Ming.
Yeah.
What's with this guy?
The king of groveling.
Yes.
King of groveling. I'm actually a little. I don't actually remember his story too well.
I don't remember either his story.
Okay.
It's not very relevant, I guess.
Yeah. And then Kukrushka, I think the main part of her is that she's an android, and there's two of them, and it's like Jonas's like lover in a way.
He reminds her of a woman he was in love with hundreds of years ago who disappeared, died, something like that.
Yeah.
He goes searching the cosmos for her, and then he finds her. And Krishna goes with Otome back to her planet and is there for a little bit and then just vanishes, disappears. So that's it.
All right.
Well, thanks, guys. Is there anything else about the story? Like, is that really it?
There is something, but I'd rather discuss it in the tour maker. I think IDK knows what I'm probably hinting at, but it will. Yeah, I'm not gonna ruin it. I'm gonna wait for the tour maker because I need to make my case.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, I think I know what he's talking about.
No, IDK knows what I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure. All right. So anyways, let's talk about the game now. Let's do our review. We let me turn off the spoiler tag. So we've gone over most of the characters. I think Juicy has some idea now of all the characters and the plot. So let's go over let's review the game. So we should discuss this now, but how should we review our games? Like, what criteria should we use to review games, especially if we're going to do more of these? We do have more reviews planned for the future. So, like, how should we? What should our criteria be?
I'm actually a firm believer. I don't know what like each criteria. I don't know what leads up to like the ultimate score, but I strongly feel that scoring a game by like a grading system like is very, to me it like resonates a lot to me.
Mm-hmm.
Where like I see games as like they're either like C or like a C plus or like a B plus and an A. Like to me, like there are very few games that are on the A tier. Like I think Persona 5 of course is one of them. But like something like a B plus to me is like what's the game we've played?
Where would you put 13 Sentinels?
I think with the flaws it has, I would still give it an A.
Really?
For...
13
so,
Sentinels
so,
an A.
So I think these scores aren't static either. I think like the scores are based off of like it's how it is currently within like the gaming realm. And I think like the storytelling with 13 Sentinels and the way that you play the game is super unique. Where like I'm willing to tell people to play the game even though it does have flaws.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of like, I guess that is my criteria, is like it is a absolutely must play where it's really unique and you still have fun. And of course there's a lot more to it as well that I think why 13 Sentinels should have like a letter A grade. But I think going back to like Gnosia, like I would give it like a C plus. And the reason why I like the system of like either a letter grade or like a letter grade with a plus is because I think of games where it could have had more potential to become like a better game. I think it deserved that like plus sign. So to me, like I think it could have been a B type of game, but like I think it fell kind of short with this gameplay and just how it is.
So some criteria I have written here is some ways I would judge a game is first by the cost, because I do think, even though I might be Mr. Moneybags over here, cost isn't a factor for me, but for a lot of gamers, cost is a factor. And even though I am Mr. Moneybags, because I have GME, I'm Mr. Moneybags. Cost. I still don't want to pay like $60 for like a 5-hour game, right? That doesn't make any freaking sense, right? So I think cost, no matter how rich you are, how loose you are with your money, cost is always a factor, right? You gotta be cost efficient. And then another thing I had here is story, and then like playability as a game, like, and then unique or innovative, and the last one is fun. But I think fun might just be the same as playability as a game. If I were to do this, I'd probably do it on cost, story, fun, innovative, and the last one is the X factor, which is X factor is just whatever you change it based on the genre of the game. That's how I would look at a game. Just like how we rate the cage characters, right? How does each one, is it favorable or is it not favorable, and you come up with a point system here. But that's how I would rate games.
Interesting. I I tend to rate games on how many dateable waifus they have.
Oh my goodness, of course.
If they have no
Of
waifus,
course.
if they have no
Of course.
waifus,
The
automatic
wife
zero.
factor.
The wife-
Automatic 0. I'm not playing your game. So sorry, Halo. You have no actual waifus. 0.
Cortana. No?
Not a real waifu.
Oh,
Yo, she leveled
Gears of
up
War?
though.
0. Red Dead Redemption 0.
what?
Oh.
No, that's not true. That's not true.
0.
That's not true. Red Dead Redemption RDR2 had the best waifu.
No.
Had the best waifu. Dude.
I think IDK just want to trigger you, Kagros. Don't give in.
Sorry.
He's just
No waifus.
spewing out
No
words.
waifus.
Like Ratchet and Clank has no waifus.
Yes.
Terrible game.
Actually,
Irene
Clank
Adler,
does have
dude. Irene Adler is such an amazing character, dude. She is so good.
Anyways, 0. But for real though, I think listening to you guys talk about how you guys like grade games and like a scale of like letters or based on some certain criteria. For me, I'll be honest, it does kind of come down to a number. So if a game is in like the 70s range, that's a weight on a sale. That's when you take the cost into effect. It's like, oh, this game costs $60. It's brand new, but its score on Metacritic or OpenCritic was like a 78. Yeah, I'm going to wait on a deep sale on that one, boss. I might be interested in it, but it's not worth the cost. Now, if a game is on sale, it's like $10 and it's got like a 90. Yeah, I'm going to pick it up probably. Even if I'm not really interested in the genre or the game itself, I might pick it up. Unless there's something about that I really don't like it's a sports game or something. Or if it's a fighting game. Beyond that, I tend to be pretty flexible with games. It's like, is the value good? Is gameplay going to be fun? And is the story good? Bonus points for waifus coming from a developer or publisher that I'm used to or I like the games from. And if it's in a genre I really like. So I really like fantasy. I really like RPGs. And I really like sci-fi. So if you hit one of those 3 regions, it's a pretty good chance I might pick up your game if the cost is right and if it rates well enough.
All right. Well, since I'm hosting today's episode, so we'll use my factors. So let's just go over them one by one. So let's review the game. So the cost. How much did this game cost? $20? Was it $20?
Is that $20 or $30?
I think. Let me see.
Could have sworn it was on sale. It was like half off or something.
It's $25.
Yeah.
Right in the middle. Do you think it was worth $25?
I'm just gonna preface this with I don't judge a game by its cost at all, so I really don't care.
Really?
So I think that's really unfair in a way, because let's say the Persona 5, right? If it were $200, I literally spent $400 plus $60, $460 to play one game, and it was worth it. So you tell me about cost, right? But yeah, I do think it's too expensive. It's a hard game to recommend, especially if it costs that much. I guess I do agree with cost when it comes to recommending a game, because if it's too expensive, there's so many other games that are cheap on sale that are 10 out of 10s, being quickly recommended.
Let me change the question then. If you compare this to Among Us, is it so? Among Us is a free game, right? Or let's say it's $5 on Steam, right? Right, DK?
I think so.
Would you rather buy
Yeah.
Among Us for $5, or would you rather buy this for $25? Do you think the extra $20 is worth the experience for Gnosia over Among Us?
I don't know how I can answer that. It's still the cost shouldn't. To me, cost doesn't come to play. But then I would say that Among Us is technically free.
No,
So,
I know,
money?
I'm using
Yeah. I think what he's getting at is, you pay $5 and you get all the costumes and stuff for Among Us, and you have fun with your friends, and there's that whole social aspect of playing Among Us with friends and having a good time. But there isn't much story element to it. It's just the gameplay. Whereas this, you take away that multiplayer aspect, but it's still Among Us, just with computers. And with a story.
Subsequently more story, yeah. It's
And
like
way
you
more
either
story.
have story or fun in a way.
So, if you're going to ask me if the cost is worth it at $25, for all the story that was in the game, and for how much gameplay you have to go through to get to it, I don't think it was worth $25.
I don't think so either. I think it was $15 game.
15. Yeah.
15.
So like the price that's on sale right now is the perfect price to pick it up at.
Yeah.
Any lower than that, and it's a steal.
I do think when the cost is a factor when you're reviewing games, because there are going to be players that do care about cost. So I think this is a game you would pick up on sale. It's not worth $25. I think it's closer to 15 based on what is in the game. And there's other factors too, which we'll go into in the next one. So the next one is the story. What do we think about the story here?
I'd say story-wise, from everything I saw and watched, it starts off pretty strong. Has a good hook, gets you going, and then it slogs. It slogs hard, especially if you lose because the AI got too good and caught you. Or
you fight Yuriko. Or you just fight Yuriko because Yuriko's OP as shit.
And for any number of reasons, you can get screwed over in the game, and the event you were chasing gets denied. And so you have to keep replaying over and over. And so while that gives you value for the game, you start to question, is it worth playing? It gets burdensome, When something is a good grind... I was going to say, when something is a good grind, yeah.
I was gonna ask you if cost is associated with how long you played a game, because it felt like you were kind of alluding to that IDK, where like the amount of story you get, is it worth like the cost of this game?
Yeah, I'd say that's true.
So with Gnosia, I don't know how many hours you played on this game, but it felt like a long time.
I think I put in 25 hours. So I put in a good amount of time. But anyways, in the interest of time, I'm going to give my full review now. My full review. So the other factor is fun, unique, and innovative. I think to boil it down, the game is really grindy. And you can get stuck, which really hampers work. Which means that this game, I don't think it's bingeable. You shouldn't binge this game. I consider this like a toilet, a pooping game. You sit on the can, you play a game of Gnosia, 1 or 2 games, and then that's it. So like, if you approach it like that, it's a lot more enjoyable because you're not slogging your way through the game for the story. You're playing the game and getting story on top of it. Right?
The thing is that the progress you make is inconsistent. Like, you want to play for story, but you can't. Because you're just given this garbage of a loop, and nothing happens. And you feel like you've either had fun with it, or you wasted your time. Which, to me, typically, I wasted my time. Because that's not, the fun, what IDK said, it just becomes a slog. The first 20 loops you play is actually really fun. Each loop you play is fun regardless whether you're progressing the game or not. It's just it's so cool that you run into these certain scenarios, but that gets overplayed too quickly.
Yeah, and there's also the issue of some of the scenarios that you need to complete the game, you would not know to set for unless you had a guide.
Mm-hmm.
For the most part, unless you were absolutely just
I needed a guide at the end. I needed a guide.
Even with the event selector, you needed a guide. You needed someone to tell you how to do it and what you needed to do in order to activate events.
The last Remnant event is near impossible to get. Literally everyone's last one is always Remnant. You need to look at a guide for that. The last Remnant info is just complete utter horse crap. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So, but that's why I said you need to approach it as you're playing. You want to play single player werewolf, and you get story on top of it. I think if you're trying to advance the story, then you're setting up yourself to burn out. I think that's my advice for players that want to get into Gnosia. You get Gnosia because it's a single player werewolf game. You don't have friends, you want to play werewolf, and then the story is just the icing on top. If you go in for
It just so happens to have a story.
Yes,
sometimes,
yes.
like 50% of the time.
Yes. So I think that's how you should approach the game. I think if you approach the game with that mindset, you're gonna enjoy it a lot more, rather than trying to grind for a story. And for that, I think this game is pretty unique. I've never played a single player werewolf game like this before. Like I have played games where it is technically werewolf, but it's not like actual werewolf like this. Like one game that I would say it's kind of like werewolf is obviously Danganronpa, right? That's Danganronpa. It's just one big werewolf game basically, right? And but this is actual werewolf. Like, you're actually playing like real werewolf. You're playing, like there's one killer or multiple killers, and then you gotta vote one by one, and you just play it over and over. And I think that's an unique experience. Do you guys agree with this?
Yeah, I agree from a single player aspect, and also I think the sprinkling with the story, I think that part is actually what makes it unique. I think if it were just a straight up like single player werewolf game, I would actually hate this game.
Mm-hmm.
Like after playing it like 2-3 times, like to me, I need some way to progress, and to me, a lot of that's based on the story.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, that's where the unique aspect is coming from. It's pretty cool. It's a cool game.
Yeah.
I agree.
So we were discussing the story earlier, and the story I think is too convoluted, especially towards the end. Especially when there is no. People have a lot of theories about the game, which is I think that's a sign that the story wasn't nicely knotted up, right? They have a lot of theories about what happens in the game at the end, right? And like, Juicy was asking, like, what about the Gnosia? Like, did that have anything to do with it? And it ended up in the end, it didn't really have to do anything. Figuring out the source of the Gnosia didn't matter. And then it ends up that the actual game is just get out of the loop, right? Break the loop. That's the actual. And it's kind of like, wait, but aren't you going to explain Gnosia? And like at the end of the game, I feel like, oh, Yuriko is just a red herring. Like we don't care about the Gnosia. We just care about getting out of the loop. Like I want to know why like what Juicy was asking earlier, right? I wanted to know that, but it didn't. So there's a lot of questions at the end of the game still, even though they kind of wrap it up. But there's still a lot of unanswered questions. Like what's the point of the Gnosia? Like why even mention like the digitized? Like I thought this was all in the game. And like there's a fan theory going out there like like this Gnosia is actually a game, and you the player are also in the game too. It's some like meta commentary or something like that. But I think that the story is a little too convoluted. Even though if you like sci-fi, you'll dig it. If you don't like sci-fi, you will not dig this game. It's really really sci-fi heavy for sure.
Yeah. And what to say about it? It's like it was interesting. I'll put it that way. As someone who didn't have to pay for the game and didn't have to play the game, just could sit back and watch it, the story was intriguing. But I do have to bring up that Gnosia is, I believe, if I recall correctly, this is actually a Japanese-developed game.
Yes.
It released in Japan first. So when we got to the end, it was like, oh yeah, so-and-so vanishes, disappears, or so-and-so dies. I was like, okay, fine. Typical Japanese storytelling for like a game where like, oh, everyone runs off into the sunset. That's it. The end. Bye-bye. Like, where's the lore follow-up? Where's more of the story? Like, it doesn't exist. That wasn't the point of the game. The point of the game was for you to play. You played. Congratulations. You win. Move on. Like, okay. All right. I see your game. So,
what I can tell you is that I don't regret buying this game. I don't regret playing this game for as many loops as I did. But I'm glad I stopped after hearing the story, because it sounds a little, like you said, convoluted.
Yeah. But I mean, the convolutedness paid off in the end, without saying anything yet, because we have to get to the character rankings. The ending paid off. I was glad to see the end. I was very happy. There was a warmness in my heart that is normally very dark and cold. My heart grew 2 sizes that day.
So,
wow.
what do you think about the actual like the werewolf mechanics in the game, like the single player aspect, like just not? I'm not talking about like the story and the Gnosia game as a whole. I'm just talking about the werewolf section of the game, like playing werewolf against the AI. How do you guys feel about that?
I thought it was pretty cool. I think I'm glad they have a leveling up system where they pretty much give you better options to play, or like to persuade these characters. So I thought that was a really good way to really like change up, or not change up, but to improve the single player experience for Werewolf. Because I think without that, it would be pretty dry. Because I think Werewolf itself is a genre, like you mentioned, and there isn't really anything you can really improve upon. Like even all the roles itself are they're not they're not unique, right? Like the AC follower is like the town crier or something of the werewolf game. I forget. Like
Yeah.
all these roles exist prior. It's just a genre. So like to me, they didn't really spice up the werewolf game itself, but I really liked how they tackled it from a single player point of view.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, as someone who observed someone playing it, one of the big complaints from the guy I was watching was that sometimes he'd set things up for someone else to take the fall, and then all of a sudden, all the AI would be like, "Oh, is that so? Well, we think you're the one who's gonna be frozen."
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, no, wait a minute, no, don't turn this on me!" And they all would turn on him, and he'd die, and he'd be like, "Son of a whore!
So
What the hell?"
I had
had
issues. I had issues with that too, but then I realized that actually adds realism to the werewolf game, right? That
Yeah, but
actually adds realism. Like that actually happens when you play werewolf with other people, right?
when you're trying to do an event and the same thing happens like 3 or 4 times in a row, you get really frustrated and really heated.
Oh yeah. When you're trying to get them in, it's even worse. But like,
It keeps tripping on you. Like, or people do really stupid things, and you're like, "Why did you do that? Why?"
that's part of werewolf, dude. That's just part of werewolf in general. You're like, oh, I know the person's the killer, but no one believes me. Why doesn't anyone fucking listen to me? And then you get offed, and then you find, yep, they were the killer. I'm like, oh my god, you fucking dumbasses. Like that's part of the werewolf. So like, I was frustrated with that, but at the same time, like, I think they had to put that in because that's actually how most werewolf games end up, right? Where you're like, oh my gosh, but like the problem I had was that I couldn't explain my logic really, right? You can either accuse someone or you can defend someone, right? That's the only thing you can do. You can't really explain your logic. Like, yeah, that's the one thing I didn't like about the gameplay. But I think the gameplay is okay. Other than that stupid grovel bullshit. Oh my god, I hate grovel so much. Oh my god, I'm like, guys, Sha-Ming is the fucking Gnosia. Can we kill him? And he's like, grovel. I'm like, ah, fuck. And they speak. I'm like, oh, no, all right, I'm dead now.
I guess you get one more chance. Like, oh no, stop, please, please, just get rid of him, please.
You brought up a really good point, Kagros. I felt like with the AI, there's a certain way to play the game, where like a lot of the times, and let's say like the first 2 rounds, you don't say a word.
Yeah.
You just press A. Try to spam through the comments or through the conversations. Like, okay, I can see. I'm just waiting for someone to die first.
Yeah. So I and then I think my biggest gripe with this game though, my biggest gripe is that there is no event mode. There's no gallery mode. There's no, event mode. Event modes and gallery modes are staples for VNs, and to not include it is a huge travesty in this game. Like, this game needed event mode and gallery mode. I want to view the CGs. I want to replay the endings that I got, the events that I got. Right? They didn't put it in the game. I think that's a big X. That's a big no. Like, you need to have those things, man. Come on.
That's why 13 Sentinels gets an A rating from. No, just kidding. 13 Sentinels, so good.
So before we get into the tier, so overall, if I were to rank this game using a number scale, if I was open critic, I would have given this game like probably an 80 or high 70s. I wouldn't give it 80 is the highest I would give it, for given the it is unique, but I would probably only give it an 80 at most, at best. Somewhere between, I want to say 77 to 80, somewhere in there.
I have a quick question because I do believe like the point system is pretty universal, but like, what's the difference between like a game that gets like 30 points versus 50?
Well, the thing is,
Or 60.
The rating system is heavily skewed, right? It's skewed. It's what is it? It's skewed toward like 70 is considered an average game, right? Not 50 is not considered an average game. It's 70. So
yeah,
like,
70 is like borderline. This game may not even be worth buying in most people's minds. Like if you give a game a 70, people are gonna be like, "Wow, that's trash." Like I'll wait for super sale.
Yeah.
A 50 or a 30, it doesn't matter how low you go. At that point, it's just like straight up not worth any money at all. No, not worth playing. Usually just comes down to how buggy it is or how crappy it is.
Yeah.
So only once you get to the 70s that really the score matters.
Yeah. I think anything below 60 is a no-go. It's just...
Which is a fault with the system, but I think it's just because there's been score inflation,
Yeah.
Reviewers are pushed to give the more popular games higher scores. So if you give a game an actual true score of like 78, 79, and then you get attacked by a rabid fan base who all think it should be like an 85, you're kind of afraid to give games that score in the future, so you start giving them 85s. But then the games that actually should be 85 are now 90, and the games that are 90 are now 95, and now you have games that are getting close to perfect when they're not. Where was I going with that? Yeah, that's it.
Sorry, it was just random because
Yeah. So
I've always had that thought.
to kind of wrap this review up, I do want to say if you like this game, you need to play the Zero Escape series. All the games. It's very similar. The premise is very similar. It's not werewolf. All right, it is technically werewolf, but like there are loops and everything. It's sci-fi based. I think you need to play. Definitely need to play the Zero Escape series. And Juicy, I recommend you if you did enjoy this, like the story, I would recommend playing the Zero Escape games. They're really good. And I think also Danganronpa is similar as well, although it's not actually werewolf, but Danganronpa is also very similar to this thing as well, where it's like sci-fi themes and it's a murder mystery, like a murder game. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's on my backlog. Danganronpa. I have it on Steam. The FPS, dude. First-person shooter got me good. I suck. I just can't do it.
I think you should play Zero Escape first. If you want to play a game like that, you should play Zero Escape over. I actually rate Zero Escape higher than Danganronpa, especially the second game. The second game is a fucking masterpiece.
Is Zero Escape?
Zero Escape, yeah. So Zero Escape, the first game is 999. There are flaws in that game that I talked about yesterday, and Emily is away. But the second game, Virtual Last Reward, is a fucking masterpiece. It's really, really good. But to enjoy it, you need to play the first one, unfortunately. I got an extra copy. I gave it to IDK. I don't know if IDK ever finished the game.
I have not. I still have it hidden in one of my drawers.
It's a masterpiece. I heavily recommend Zero Escape. Like, if you enjoyed this kind of Gnosia, you're going to enjoy Zero Escape. You should, at least, in my opinion, you should play the first two. The third one's okay, but the second one is really, really damn good. Like, I talked to Sunstone about this, and then she also agreed that the game is amazing. So, any other thoughts before we move to the tier list about this game? I think I've said everything I have to say about this game.
No. That's all.
All right.
So what is our official rating score for this?
79.
79? You want to give it 79?
I'm gonna knock it one down. 78.
78. Oh.
Does not deserve a 79.
But if we give it a letter score, what would you want to give it? C plus?
If it's a letter score, I give it a B minus.
So my grading score is pretty analogous to the point system. Like, to me, a C is like a 73, C plus is like a 78, so on and so forth.
If it was a letter scale, I gave it a B minus.
Yeah.
I give it a C++.
That's a programming language, Mr. IDK. All right, gentlemen. So let's move on to what our viewers are actually here for. The tier list. So let me pull it up here. Let me see. Let me adjust this as well.
The waifu tier list.
Yes. All right. Let me adjust this. All right. So what are we going to name the tiers, my friends?
So I want to name the tiers based on the commands that you can give.
Okay.
I forgot about this command. Don't be fooled. We have to use that one. Don't be fooled.
Where are we gonna put it? The last one? Maybe that don't be fooled. Or no, grovel should be the last one.
Mm-hmm.
Bravo.
And then I guess the second last one is don't be fooled.
Sure. Let's say the middle one should be. We gotta have let's cooperate. Maybe that's like the second tier or the third tier.
I'm fine with it being the second tier. And then and then this one here, what should be this one, the middle one?
Silence. Don't say anything.
Little gray men.
Defend.
No. Yeah. Okay. Defend. I guess.
All right. What should be the? Oh no. I think the middle one. Say you're human.
Sure. Say you're human.
And what should the top one be?
Alliance. No. Let's cooperate is already a command for making an alliance.
Yeah. Let me see here.
Freeze all. Just kidding. There's one that says definite human, but you can do definite human.
Hold on,
Or be my waifu.
Let me see here. Oh, here it is. Gnosia. I'm pulling up a list.
Okay. Give me a second.
Exaggerate. Retaliate. I don't know. Seek help?
Definite human?
Yeah, definite human. That's
Uh,
what I see.
yeah, let's do that. Definite human. Actually, I think Let's Cooperate should be above.
Maybe it should be the first one.
Yeah, Let's Cooperate should be the first one because.
Okay.
All right, we got our tier list set up. All right, so let's start on this side and work our way up. So Kukrushka, where would you guys rate her? Me personally, I'd probably put her in the don't be fooled section. I don't think she had much character development. She's really quiet most of the time.
That's actually where I was gonna put her. Don't be fooled.
Sorry, I don't mean to jump ahead, but would you put her on the same boat with Remnant? Because they're both a little similar with like personality.
Yeah, I would. I think Remnant had a little bit more. I don't really. I actually put Remnant in the middle here, in my opinion, because he does have some unique stories. But
The only reason why I would put Kukrishka in the middle is just because maybe in the middle of the game, I still thought that she was super mysterious, especially with that incident where we thought she was frozen, but she wasn't.
Yeah, she attacks Remnant.
Taxi.
Yeah, yeah,
And then you find out that she's
but
like
at
a
the
doll.
end of the game, though, there's nothing. She really doesn't really have anything, in my opinion.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, I'd say she peaked and then she fell at the
Yeah.
end. So
All right.
don't be.
Grovel man, Sha-Ming.
Dude, put him in grovel.
Yeah,
People love
Yeah, sounds
he
about
belongs in
I
grovel.
didn't like him at all.
All right,
Okay.
Otome.
Grovel.
Same category.
Grovel.
Throw in. Throw in.
Even worse than Ming.
All right.
Shoot her out of the ship.
All right, Setsu.
I mean, go over the story a bit now.
For me, it's definitely Let's Cooperate for Setsu.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Literally have to put it at the top.
Tier.
I mean, non-binary. He, she, whatever. But yeah.
Wait, what? Is that
No, Setsu.
okay?
Setsu.
Spoilers?
No, it's not spoiler. Setsu's a girl.
No, Setsu's non-binary. That's the thing.
Oh,
Because
is
like, Sha-Ming says, "Hey, babe, what's going on?" And Setsu goes, "I'm non-binary, you asshole."
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Don't call me babe. I'm non-binary. So.
Well, anyway,
There we go.
Setsu's... All right. What
Wait,
about-
just because of story, she's just number one.
She has to be, because she's literally the one that gets the most character development, dude. She's your girl. She's kind of default.
She's your girl.
So,
dude.
all right, so I'm going to tell you she is not my number one, though. She's actually my number two. Setsu's my number two.
Okay.
I do really like. Originally, Setsu wasn't on my tier list, and then she skyrocketed.
So IDK knows who my number one is, but I'm curious, Juicy, do you want to take a guess at who my number one is? I'm not going to tell you until we get to that character. But who do you think my number one character is?
Aren't you on the SQ boat?
Oh, you know, okay, you know.
You mentioned it already.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so Jonas.
I just liked his quirkiness, but I don't know how much story he actually has. I thought it's more fascinating than Kukrushka in a way.
I would put him in Say You're Human, in my opinion.
I think he should be based on Say You're Human because he's a human astronaut. He's been alive for hundreds of years. He has a really tragic backstory, and then he just dies.
And then he
goes off into space, and then
no. And then he has that one funny scene where he's found frozen naked. Remember that one? That just for that reason alone, it's Say You're Human. That's the only reason why I put him there.
I remember the scene where he's turned the med bay, or one of the med bay, the cold storage
sauna.
into a sauna. He's like, yeah, the thing doesn't like heat. Join the heat, boys. It's like, you fucking moron. Why'd you let her out of cold storage and let the slime out? Yeah, he's human.
Yeah. All right, Yuriko. IDK was on the Yuriko train for a while.
I was on the Yuriko train. I really like this character, but as of recent revelations, her rating with me dropped dramatically.
Well, she's always the first one to get killed off on my end. It's like, oh, she's in the game? Gotta kill her off.
I would actually put her in Say You're Human, even though like she's a red herring, but she's one hell of a bitch to fight against in the actual game. She's like she's actually one of the strongest characters.
She's crazy. Yeah, I'd put her in there. Underneath or above Jonas?
I would personally put her above Jonas.
Above.
What's her command?
Retaliate.
Retaliate. Oh,
Yeah.
OP.
Yeah, put her there.
Okay. All right, Comet. So for
I put
me,
it-
Comet is the person I usually trust. I trust her the most because she's bad at lying, but she has very high intuition. So for me, she was always a trustworthy ally, especially once my stats got really high, because I could tell immediately whether she was on my team or not, and she could easily smoke out the sus people, like the underboob though. I would either put her above Yuriko or Indefinite Human.
I was gonna put her in Don't Be Fooled. She doesn't add much to the story.
I'd say either top of Don't Be Fooled or at the bottom of Say You're Human.
All right.
Yeah, she does have those quirks and stuff, but the guy I was watching, he always got tricked by Comet.
Oh, the fool.
Comet was always screwing him over.
All right, we'll put her in Say You're Human then. All right, Remnant. Remnant, either for me now at this point, belongs at the bottom of Say You're Human or above Kukrushka and Don't Be Fooled.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
I think he should be put here probably at this point. Don't Be Fooled.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
All I would say is I thought Kukrushka and Remden would have a lot more like involvement with the story, but it's sad to say. It's sad to hear that they don't.
All right, Chippy.
He was actually. I thought he was kind of OP. He was
Chippy
always
was
tried
usually
to.
the Gnosia. Usually, if I don't know who to accuse, I'll accuse Chippy.
Chippy, design-wise, I was very confused about the cat for a while until I finally realized it was attached to
It
him,
was
and
going
not
through
just
his neck, not around his neck.
around his neck. And I noticed also, like at the end, I saw whenever he closed his eyes, the cat would close its eyes. That's even though after I knew the story, like yeah, they're the same body. It was like, oh yeah, okay. So, but I still didn't really like him that much as a character. I thought he was just kind of annoying.
I'd put him in Don't Be Fooled.
I personally put him below Kukushka.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
I agree.
All right,
Oof.
Gray Man, Shigamuchi. So I don't think we touched upon this in the story or in our previous discussion, but Shigamuchi was actually experimented on. He was turned into this gray. He was originally a human, and he was turned into this by his dad, I believe. But I would probably still put him in the Don't Be Fooled. Like, he has his moments. I'd probably put him above Chippy. He does have his moments, but I don't really care much about him.
Yep. Well said.
All
Yeah,
right.
I'll take it.
All right, and then we got Stella.
She's kind of plain, but it's an interesting story to have like the AI of the ship gain a body and be interacting with the crew. But at the same time, she felt like she never really went anywhere, didn't really develop.
So
Maybe I
remember,
just don't remember her story that well.
all right. So I actually would put her in Definite Human. So Stella was my number one for a while, solely because of the fact that usually for me whenever I play these kind of games, when I start out in the game, usually the person I trust is the obvious like person. I would trust the person that's the support character, and she's basically the support. Like literally, like when you first meet her, she tells her she loves you, right? Right. So I'm like, all right, I'm gonna trust this person. And usually, at the beginning of the game,
That's a honeypot.
I usually trust her, and she asked me to team up like a shit ton, right? And then obviously that's the character I want to work with. So like for me, she was number one for a while until we started getting people's backstory, and then so for that, she has a special place in my heart. She's definitely human for me. But let's see what you guys have to say about Stella here. But and then like to find out that she's the AI as well is pretty. That was okay, but yeah.
I appreciated her design. I'm actually quite fond of it.
She looks
She's,
like
I think
Mercy. She looks like
Yeah,
Mercy.
yeah. She looks like Mercy. I think she's one of the prettier crew members, but
Yeah, I actually like her Gnosia state.
oh yeah,
Yes.
that one's pretty good too. I'd say I'd put her in Say You're Human, but at the very top.
What about you, Juicy?
Story wise, there's nothing more to her. Like, if I know that she's an AI and there's nothing else about her towards the end of the story, then like she's not really a character. Like,
I believe she saved your life in one of them as well. In one of the loops as well. She initiates. I think she puts you like in cold storage. She sacrifices herself.
Well, yeah, she puts you and Sha-Ming into cold storage to save you from the slime,
Yeah.
and that's it.
I think story wise, I'd put her at most at below Jonas. I was gonna
Really?
put her. I was gonna put her below Kukushka.
All right, we'll put her below Jonas. So, also, I do because it does matter in this game. The personality of the characters, the impact they make, do matter because this is a werewolf game. So, like, you understand the character. For me, understanding they have a personality. I think that also is a point in their favor, not just strictly on story. Because I have some of these characters mean a little bit more to me, like Comet, right? Like you guys don't like Comet, but I would like Comet because I trusted her a lot, and and she was like my first line of defense against Gnosia in my games. So I read a review about this game where they were like, Gnosia does do a good job of simulating the werewolf experience, whereas like when you play werewolf with your friends, right? You know how most people are gonna you know how most of your friends play the game, right? Like, we all know IDK is going to stir the pot, right? We all know that's going to happen, right? He's going to be the crazy, the crazy guy that you don't know what to expect because he just does crazy shit all the time regardless, right? Whether he's the werewolf or not, right? So like, and like, I think if you get that, get that feeling from the AI that you're playing, like I know how they play the game, then I think that is a point in their favor, at least from my point of view. Because I know how Comet plays, I know how Stella plays.
Yeah.
I had no idea how the fuck Otome plays, and I know how Sha-Ming plays too, even though he's in the grovel tier. And the way he plays is he doesn't play. He doesn't say shit. He never says shit. He just hangs back in the background, right? And then like yeah. So
Yeah, I think for that, like, you brought up a really good point, and for that, like, I would definitely put Stella and Comet on Definite Human
hmm
for those reasons. But if this is about story, I don't know. I don't know. It could be both.
I think it's overall. Overall, I think overall as because personality of a character is part of the character, right? So
Yeah.
I think you should rate how you want to rate, and then we'll all aggregate our scores regardless. That's what we've been doing anyway, so that's okay too.
I mean, Jonas is definitely S tier. Come on, so funny.
Okay, shit. If that's the case, Shigamuchi, little gray man should be above Revenant because he's too goddamn funny.
He is pretty
so
funny, but
funny.
he's so dumb.
He's so dumb, but every time he gets shut down by Stella,
all right,
like
all right.
every time he's like, "Oh, yeah, Stella, I like him." Oh, what did you say? He goes, oh, nothing. Don't worry about it.
All right, we kind of let's move on to the next person. Rakio, what do we think about Rakio? For me, definitely human for sure. I love his personality. Whenever he gets space, he's like, "Oh, you fucking lemmings! I hope you die. You deserve it." And he does play a pretty big part in the plot. And normally, he's the most dangerous character because if he's not Gnosia, he's always right. But if he's Gnosia and you listen to him, you're fucked. So
It was a character that I didn't like originally because they're so weird looking. Like the design is just absolutely insane. But over time, yeah, as you get more story revealed and as you see the interactions, like, yeah, they're a pretty important character, and they end up being, kind of cool in a way. And then of course,
All right.
the coup d'état on that is the ending, where there's apparently a nude statue of them where people like to gather on the home planet where they won the revolution. Okay.
Kagros, I'm gonna tell you this. We need to do some shuffling on this tier now. I finally understand how this tier works. You need to put Comet and Stella in Definite Human. Comet is tier 1 because of the underboob, of course. And then Rakio's on the far end of the Definite Human. That's how I would rate it.
So like this.
Yes.
Okay, I'm fine with that.
I'll take it.
Underboob to OP, dude. Underboob to OP.
Underboob OP. Very close though.
Dude, something we didn't mention was that the slime on her that covers her body. At first I thought was a tattoo. I'm like, wow, it's a really cool like space tattoo. For that then to be revealed to be like this living organism that feeds on her, and when it thinks she's dead in cold storage, it like just goes absolutely apeshit and destroys the entire ship. Like, that was a twist I didn't expect.
IDK liked
Pretty
it.
cool.
IDK liked it because he likes tentacle monsters.
I like slime. Don't hate.
All right.
Slime time, baby.
All right, so here we go. My girl SQ deserves to be at the very top of this tier list. She's my number one. So I've been saving this, but you should go on YouTube and Google SQ Gnosia event. SQ is by far the most fleshed out, other than Setsu, is the most fleshed out character. But unlike Setsu, SQ's scenarios are just so impactful. So in the first one, in the very first event, you find that she's a test tube baby, right? And already, like right when she got that event, she immediately jumped to like the top 3 of my list. Right when you get them, when you find out she's a test tube baby, right?
Yeah.
But her main event, in order to get the main event, this is definitely spoilers now. So in order to get the main event for SQ, you need to be the Gnosia, and she needs to be a regular person. When the event triggers, SU is going to ask you whether or not you're Gnosia, and you need to say yes. and then she will ask to team up with you, where she will protect you as long as you don't kill her. And then after that, if you protect her, then you clear the event. So basically, the event ends when you and her are the only ones left alive on the ship. And then there, she basically says that she couldn't believe that you didn't kill her, and then she tells you about her backstory about her mom and how she's a clone and how none of this matters. And then you tell her everything too. You tell her that you've been looping, and then SQ gives you the warning that you should never trust me because the person, you should never trust me because my mom is a filthy liar and she'll say anything to get her way. And then
Yeah.
and then as the loop ends, so it'll say stats will be displayed, and right when it says that, SQ will yell at you to tell you not to forget about this universe's SQ.
Yeah.
So you need to watch it. You need to watch. It's really, really really
the
good.
impact is very heavy. Also, this is also when she explains her name, right? What the
Yes.
SQ means.
Yes.
You find out that she's clone number what?
500 some shit. I forgot.
540,
I don't know.
something like that.
Yeah. So
Yeah. He was like, "There's been 500 of you. Oh my
Yeah.
god."
it's. This is why I am disappointed. There's no there's no gallery or no event mode. I would replay that shit because it's just so good, dude.
Yeah, and there was a particularly hard event to do too because there was you being Gnosia and her surviving. There was always a chance for you to get caught.
I actually cleared it on the first run. I cleared it on the first run.
The guy I was watching, it took him about 5 tries because every time she'd get put to sleep, or he would, or she'd get attacked by another Gnosia. Like, it just didn't work out well for him.
So yeah, I believe that SQ, despite all those character developments SQ has, SQ definitely has the most impactful moment in the game, and for that, I think she's the top. She's my number one. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I can't wait to watch it. I think
I'll send you the links.
It's really cool. So, and I feel like that's why there were other events by other characters that made it so made them so likable. That's why I like Jonas a lot, just because I think he's super goofy and he has those events like the sauna event and all those other events, and Remnant and Shigamuchi.
Oh, so it was very intentional by the developers to have this because SQ has a bunch of CGs, a bunch of different custom images during this event. It was very intentional. I wish they gave this much attention to all the other characters.
Yeah, I'd argue she was probably one of their favorite characters, and maybe even was the main heroine for a while before it became Setsu focused.
So, are we okay with putting her at the top over Setsu?
I think design-wise, I mean, she's on the cover of the game, so yeah, I think so.
I think story-wise, design-wise, character-wise.
Yes.
Yeah.
My queen. Come perch on your throne. All right, last one, Gina.
No, I actually really liked Gina. I thought her design was really cool looking. I thought her character was kind of plain, but unlike Stella, was also interesting. You have a couple of key scenes where, I believe she's the one that has the space scene, right? Where she's out on the outside of the ship, and then she's like, "Okay, you can release the seals, Stella." Well, what do you mean? There's still Gnosia. There aren't any more. Kook. Out into space, holy shit. Okay, that's cool. So she gets points from me. If I had to rank her, I'd put her at the top, but definitely human. Above Comet.
Gina is my number 3. I will say that. I have SQ and Setsu are pretty close, and then after that is Gina, and then everyone else. I really like the Gina sacrifice scene. It really just shows the impact of her character. It says she does not like lying. So for me, I really like Gina as a character as well. I would either put her I'd probably put it at the top of Definite Human. And I'd probably slide Stella down to Say You're Human, in my opinion here. I'd actually, yeah.
Above Yuriko or below
Above Yuriko,
Yuriko?
though. Above Yuriko.
Above
That's the
Yuriko.
last adjustment I would make. Are we okay with putting Gina at the top of Definite Human? Unless Juicy has thoughts on Gina. Didn't like her or something.
That was just one event, though. She's just so bland. And, like,
Yeah.
when she gets called out, she's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm Gnosia. Like, she's so passive, and I actually do not like her at all. I think she's just as bad as Otome.
Wow. I mean,
she has that one event, and, like, that humanizes her, but, like, that's the only redeeming quality she has.
Alright, then I'm fine with putting her in the Say You're Human tier. And for Juicy's sake,
split it down the middle.
I would put it here. Put her here.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean,
Alright, we'll give Juicy the benefit. Since
No.
Juicy likes Jonas so much, we'll put Jonas up.
All right. What about Stella? Are we dropping Stella down?
No, if that's the case, then Stella's case.
I was gonna say, tits are big. Definite human.
I mean, she got that revealing bottom part. You know, very sci-fi futuristic outfit.
Alright, so this is the definitive Gnosia tier list. So for the record, I did browse some character popularity polls. SQ is at the top. Is usually number one. Like I said, it's because of that event. I'll send you the link for it. It's I think you should watch it. It's really good. So, all right. Any final thoughts on Gnosia? Any closing thoughts on Gnosia before we close off for tonight?
I would still recommend buying the game if you're not price sensitive. If it does go on sale, you should give it a try. Play for 10 hours or play for 30 loops, and you'll have a good time.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, it's weird for me to say because I didn't buy the game. I just watched someone play it. If you're that on the fence about it, find a streamer who's streaming the game, or find someone who did a YouTube playthrough and watch it, and see if it's something you would enjoy. Because it was worth it. It was worth the time I spent watching it, and it'd probably be worth the time playing it too. Definitely getting on sale. My final comment would be, I kind of hope they make a sequel.
Yeah.
Really? I don't know about that. I don't know if I would say that.
I think there's
They need to do a lot of polish. They need to polish a lot of stuff.
Well, yeah, they need to do a lot of work, but like for a first game, this is pretty good. A sequel, I would expect double. I would expect it to be a lot better, and I would expect there to be more story. But there is groundwork. There is things you can do. Doesn't have to be with the same set of characters. Maybe you have one or two returning. Totally had to do the same thing again. Another ship, another time loop. Don't involve the silver key again unless you really have to. Have Yuriko show up again, older. Have SQ show up as a private investigator. That's it. There are things you can do with these characters, with this universe. I want to see more. I don't know if it'll ever happen, but I do want to see more.
I wouldn't wish for a direct sequel, but I hope they do make a sequel out of this, where it's like a new set of characters, brand new situation. Maybe Gnosia is still a threat, but they have a better backstory. Maybe they scrap the entire Gnosia like universe and start brand new. Like I think that's why this game is to me like a 78 versus like a 75 or 73, because I do feel like it has potential. And yeah, I think like you said, IDK, like they laid out the groundwork and they actually made a fun game.
Yeah.
I would think that they need to streamline the story, not make it so convoluted, and instead focus on the characters. I think this should be a character-driven game over a story-driven game or a plot-driven game. I think they should focus on their characters, on character development more than the actual story, and I think the game would be a lot more enjoyable. Like I said, This game is you're playing werewolf, right? I want to know the characters I'm playing werewolf with, just like when I play werewolf in real life, right? I think that would make the game a lot more impactful. Focus on on your characters over making some convoluted. You want to do like some brain, like a brain fuckery plot, right? But you don't need to do that. I think you just keep it simple. Just make good characters, and I think a game like this will definitely work. Like, leave the brain fuckery for Persona. Let Persona do that. Let Persona write the good plots. You just focus on your characters, right? Just focus on your characters. You'll have a great game if you do that. And that's my 2 cents on if they decide to make a sequel. This is an indie game too, by the way. So
Yeah.
And please, for the love of God, add a CG gallery and add an event mode. Oh my God, come on! You need to add these in there. All right.
I definitely would want to see them add into the gameplay, just sort of like a fail safe. So like you don't end up grinding like 30 loops trying to get an event to trigger. Just make it so that as you're playing loops, you're slowly accumulating little like triggers. That once you gain enough, will eventually trigger a big event, guaranteed. So that you don't lose pace. I think it can still be a werewolf type game. Just make it so that if someone is playing a bunch and they're going through loops, and things start seeming like they're slowing down, have an event trigger. Reset the cycle. Don't let someone spin off into dust and wander and have to consult a guide to like complete the game. That's all.
All right. Well, to all of our viewers, thank you for watching episode 23. We hope you enjoyed this review of Gnosia. Well, we don't even know how to say it. So, anyways, if you're watching this on Twitch, you can find our previous episode on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can watch us live on Twitch on Wednesday nights. And feel free to if you like what you see, feel free to follow us on Twitch or subscribe to our YouTube channel. But until then, we'll talk to you guys next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
I'm definitely human.
No, you're not.